All right, this is crazy exciting for me because this is our last video of the workshop. We got a number of things to cover, but I'm going to just tell you right now, it's our last video. So anyways, you're always going to be able to go right back to the actual blog. Remember, if you want an outline for this, there's the complete outline. It's 15 pages long, print it out, use it as your worksheet, and all of your homework is on there as well. And everything that's on there has live links to everything I'm showing you. Now, you will notice that I also broke that out into 4 separate worksheets. If you like them in smaller chunks, that's the way I prefer it. 15 pages is a long, long list for me. Then there's multiple ways to get to each of the videos. So you will see here is a link for the full playlist of all these videos on YouTube. If you want to go to any individual video, they're broken out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then from there is it also tells you what outline that they're using. So this is using outline 1 of 4. This is using 2 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, 3 of 4, and then this one 4 of 4. So that's all the explanation we're going to go into. Let's dive into what's on this last worksheet. What's on this last worksheet, we're going to talk about communication and relationship. What tools? I know I get asked this question all the time. What tools would you be using as a TC? What would you recommend? All that kind of stuff. Now, I could do that today, but I could also do that a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, and that might change. These tools are changing constantly. So that's why I'm always reluctant to do that on these videos, but I will do it in this video anyways. But just know if this video is older and you're still watching it, those things may change. Okay. What else do we need to take into consideration if we are going to build a business? I have told you from the beginning of this course, this is not a starting your own business course. If you're going to start your own business, you have to own a lot of hats. Okay. One of them is transaction management. Another one is marketing and lead gen. Another one, and I can go on and on. You've already heard that from me. Okay. But I will end the course with giving you a few thoughts around that. Okay. So that is going to have value to some and have no interest to others. You can turn it off. That's fine. Okay. And then the last thing I'm just going to mention to you, but we're not going to go into a full class on it, is if you're going to be taking on new agents, you do have to think about what does that onboarding process look like. We just talked about transaction management, what it takes to take when an agent sends you a new file. What are we going to do to process it? How do we come up with a task list? How do we come up with a transaction summary? How do we come up with email templates? How do we think about that? Now we're going to talk about communication a bit, but there's something that comes before all of that. It comes before all of that. At some point, it's the first time you're meeting that agent and they've agreed to work with you. They haven't even sent you a file yet. What does that onboarding process look like? So I'm going to have a few opinions on that possibly. Okay. So let's just go ahead and we are going to do this in a single video. Reminder here is, I've been hammering this home on every single video, and that is this: to play transaction coordinator at the highest level, minimum, bare minimum, always minimum. The word's minimum. You need 3 dialed in systems, a transaction management system. We've talked a lot about that. Email, task lists, and all this other kind of stuff. Okay. And then you need an email management system. You've started to hear more and more about what email looks like to me, what my mindset is around email in the last couple of videos. Can you tell that that's a very, very, very special thing to me? The reason why, we know whatever you do in transactions, 95% of it's going to be handled in email. So if you don't have a full-blown system for that, you're going to be a hurting product, plain and simple. Okay. Last thing is you need a communication relationship management system. So that's what we're going to go into here. Now, I may not go as deep as you would like me to in this section, because to me, this is a full course. Okay. And we need this video to be less than an hour long. And so I'm not going to be able to hit this as hard as maybe some would like, but I am going to give you a bunch of verbiage so you can take these notes and actually read through it, study it. Okay. Because there's some really, really, really core examples that are going to be provided to you. So let's start. Communication and relationship management system. Now, a couple things. Before we talk about transaction management, let's just talk about relationships and communication. I would love to think that everybody would agree with me that if I say if you have a truly amazing relationship with anyone, doesn't it go hand in hand that you can't have ridiculous, horrible communication, but have a great relationship with someone? If you have horrible ridiculous communication with anyone else, you may love them, but your relationship is challenged. Okay. The fact is they go hand in hand. If you want a great relationship, a big part of that is amazing communication. Now, when you first become friends, let's say you've got a new best friend, and the first year or two, man, you guys are talking all the time, texting all the time, hanging out all the time, everything else like that. Then you get out of high school, you're still best friends. You love each other. You've never loved anyone this much in your entire life. But one of you now goes to this state, one of you goes to this state, and you only are able to see each other and get back together about twice a year. And have you ever heard that phrase? It's like we've never been apart. Okay. The fact is that maybe now you're grown up, you spent years together, and years later, you don't talk as often. Okay. The fact is that may be true, but it never started that way. You guys have a great relationship. You still have great communication. It's just that the communication is less frequent than it used to be. That's not that much different when you work with some of these agents. You work with agents. When you get started, assume you guys need more time together at the beginning. You need more communication to build a great relationship. Now, let's say you've been working with that agent for 3 years. There are things that go unsaid and unspoken, but you still understand each other. Okay. But to believe that it can be that way from day one, and I'm going to tell you a phrase that I've seen in the groups. I've seen actual TCs and heard actual TCs say out loud while I've been present. And that is this: I'm so sick of my agents not trusting me. They want me to communicate on everything. I know what I'm doing, and they should just trust that I'm going to get it done. Okay. Maybe at this point, you feel that you've earned that trust, but they're not there yet. Okay. So this is still about relationships. This is still about humans. Okay. Humanize everything. Humanize everything. Just because it's a professional realm doesn't mean that humans aren't still involved, and we still have to take all of these things into consideration. So great communication is the basis of great relationships. Okay. Now we can say a lot more about that, but just in a generalization, let's just start there. The next thing. Every successful culture has a unified language. Okay. And I'm going to bold that. Unified language. Okay. Can you finish each other's sentences? That's another question. So a unified language, what does that mean? So I'm going to give you one example of what unified language looks like. And you're going to see this in a minute. When an agent and I are talking to each other, here's a common question when we're early on in the relationship. An agent might ask, so what do I do and what do you do? Okay, a couple things there. They want to know what they're responsible for, and they want to know what I'm responsible for. Now, I refuse to accept the verbiage do. Nobody does anything when they're in a relationship with me for transaction management, period. No one does anything. You either own it or you don't own it. And I really use that language. So I let them know. Here's the thing is, if my task list is 100 items, I will own 98. Notice I didn't say do. I will do 98 of those 100 tasks. No way. Not on a God's green earth will you ever hear me say that. Okay. I will own. I'll have pride and ownership on 98, and my agents will own 2 + 1. So the first unified language is I use specific language and I make sure that that's what we're doing. And if they say, are you going to do that? I'll say, no, I own that. Okay, I do. I absolutely say this stuff. We have unified language. Okay. And because what language you use affects your mindset. Can't stress that enough. Okay. Remember, anything that comes out of this hole immediately goes back into this hole. It's a feedback loop. I want to hear myself say that I own something. I have pride and ownership. I will get that done. Why? Because I own it. That's mine. Okay. But I also have, agent has high level of expectation of me. I have just as high a level of expectation of them. I don't understand why an agent could have a high level of expectation of their TC, but it's wrong for the TC to have high level of expectation of their agent. No. What do you own? What do they own? And I'm going to have high level of expectation that we're both going to knock it out of the park with the things that we own. Okay. So why is this important? 98, 100 plus 1. So let's just push this analogy farther, okay? So the agent will say, I'll say I own 98, my agents own 2 plus 1. So the agent's generally speaking going to say, what are the 2? What do I own? Or what do I have to do? Okay, it's 2. And this is the verbiage I use. So notice that this is a language. This is a verbiage. Okay, you're going to see where this has value down the road here. Okay, I let my agents know, here's what the 2 is. Every agent I work with will fight for their client. Translation, they will handle all negotiations. Now, did you notice I used a phrase, fight for your client, and I didn't even pause and said translation, they will handle all negotiations. That's number 1. Number 2, all of my agents are the best in the frickin' business. You don't have to say frickin', okay? But that's kind of how I talk. So all of my agents are the best in the business. So when they fight for the client, they will win. And when they win, they will draft the win. Translation, they will draft all their own documents. I don't need them to go get signatures. Notice I'm not pausing. I'm saying this next line. I don't need them to go get signatures. I will get signatures. I will chase everyone down like the dog that I am, but they will fight for their client and they will draft the win. And an agent many times will say something like this. So you're going to handle pretty much everything else, but I have to negotiate and I have to draft my own documents. Yep. You're not even going to draft an amendment for me? Nope. Now, this is what I'm saying. Doesn't mean that that's your level of service. Okay. So you have to figure out what is your verbiage going to be around your levels of service. Now, a lot of agents then after that, after we talk a little bit more and there's a little more dialogue, they're going to go, okay, fair enough. And here's what I'm going to say. You forgot plus 1. Oh, yeah. What's plus 1? They always forget plus 1. Okay. What's plus 1? My agents will have the right. The key word is right. My agents will have the right to own sense of urgency. So what does that actually mean? Own sense of urgency. The key word is that they have the right to own sense of urgency. Okay. And that is this. I'm available a ton of hours to you. Okay. I'm available Monday through Friday up to 5 o'clock. But after 5 o'clock, let's just say it's 7 o'clock. So I give them a realistic example. If it's say 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night and there's something going on with your client and there's something going on with your file and both you and I agree that what you want to see handled is part of my 98 that I own, I'm telling you right now, call, text, or email and tell me what it is and I will handle it the following business day. Okay. But here's the deal. Every once in a while, you're going to think it's an emergency. 9 times out of 10, you're exaggerating. It's not an emergency. If it gets handled the following business day, you're going to be just fine. But that's fine. If you feel it's an emergency and you really want it handled right away, you have every right. It's your business. You have the right to the sense of urgency. And if you want to just get it done, get it done. I'm telling you, though, you hired me for leverage. I always forget to make this window a little bit bigger, okay? But the fact is you hired me for leverage, and then we both know that I own that 98, and we both know that if you let me know about it, you're not gonna get a hold of me tonight. I'm available up till 5, but the fact is I will knock that out of the park tomorrow. It's probably not as big of an emergency as you think, so let me take care of it, okay? But you have the right to own sense of urgency, okay? So that's what I let them know. Now, why is all of that important based on what I just said? What I'm going to tell you right now is use unified language. So they and I have the unified language that nobody does anything. Okay. We either own it or we don't own it. I own that. You own this. Okay. You own it. And I know you're going to crush it. Okay. David, are you going to do this? No, I own it. Okay. What's the next unified language that I've got with them? Our levels of service. You need to figure out what your level of service is and how you will communicate that to them. And you need to have unified language, because when they ask you to do something that isn't part of your unified, if they ask you to do something that isn't part of the level of service that you want to agree to do, how did you explain it to them in the first place? Do they have real clarity? Are they just testing to see if you will do it, or they didn't completely understand what your actual level of service is? You should be able to clearly say, Joe, I'm sorry that you needed to get that done. That's just outside of the scope of what the service that we provide. Joe, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to get that done. That's outside of the scope of our service. But here's what I can do for you. I never say no without telling them what I can do or what I think might be a good solution for them. Okay. Again, I'll repeat that. I never say no without telling them what I can do for them or what I would suggest. Okay. I'm not just a no person. Nope, don't do that. But I'm also okay saying that if they ask me to do something, that's actually outside of the level of service. Now, when is that not okay? I didn't bring real clarity to that. They're like, what do you mean you don't do that? You're my transaction coordinator. That means they don't have a problem. I have a problem. I have a problem with communication. I didn't do a very good job bringing real freakish levels of clarity as to what my levels of service are. Who's in the wrong here? Me, all day long. Now, if I brought amazing levels of clarity, but they forgot, here's what that sounds like. Now, this is where it all comes together. I'm working with an agent. Now, I'm thinking of an agent off the top of my head. Okay. I know specifically who this agent is. I know how many files I worked with that agent and how long I worked with that agent. I'm telling you right now, I know this relationship well. And here's a conversation we had on a regular basis. They'd be okay for a couple months. And then after a couple months, they get a little loose and they'd ask me to do something. Okay. And I would say, I'm going to make up a name, Joe. I'll just keep using the name Joe here because it wasn't Joe. Okay. Joe, 98. And then I wouldn't even have to finish it. And they'd go, I know, 98, 100 plus one. Frickin' Breckheimer. Ugh. Okay. And then they laugh about it and stuff like that. And then they would joke and go, I don't know why you just don't fire me. I am such a pain in your rear. Okay. And here's the thing is after I remind them, they're okay for a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months. And all of a sudden they get stressed and everything else like that. And they come out and they start, asking different things and stuff like that. And I'll go, nope, I'm sorry. 98. Yeah, I know 98, 100 plus one. I'm on it. I've got it. I'll get it to you when I've got it ready. Okay. We have unified language. They can finish my sentences. We have unified language. Okay. Now, that's part of communication. Your kids can probably finish your sentences. They know what you're going to say. Okay. Your spouse can your partner can probably finish your sentences. They know what you're going to say. You have unified language. Whether it's good unified language or not is another question. Okay. So here's what I've got for you. And the reason why I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this is one of the most important things of this entire workshop, but it's the thing I'm going to spend the least amount of time on. Why? Because I want you to do it. I want you to sit down and read it. And I want you to read it over and over and over and over and over again. And why do I want you to read it over and over again? So you can do your homework. What's your homework going to be? What I'm going to show you is to have unified language, I need to know what that unified language is clarifying. And what it's usually clarifying is what my standards, systems, procedures are. So you have to figure out what your standards are going to be. Okay. And once you figure out what your standards are, how are you going to communicate that? And communicate it in a way that's effective. And you have language, specific language. You don't say it different every single time. It's the same every single time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an area. See all this blue? Everything in blue are some different standards and language I use with my agents. Okay. And so you can read those. Why? Not saying that you have to adopt everything I do. You don't have to adopt 98, 100 plus one. That might not even be accurate for you. You might not have a task list of 100. It might be a task list of 50. And so you're at 48, 100 plus one. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm not even at 48, 100 plus one because my level of service, I actually write their documents. I actually will do all their amendments and everything. Okay. Then it's 49, 100 plus one. Well, it's not even plus one, Breckheimer, because, I'm available 7 days a week. So if they want to call me at night and want me to do something, that's not actually accurate that they can own sense of urgency because they can actually reach me. Okay, maybe that formula sucks for you, but you need to figure out what is your level of service and how will you communicate that in a way that in a second they can finish your sentences and know what your level of service are. How are you bringing clarity to that? What is the unified language that you guys are going to have? You have unified language about levels of service. You have unified language about how we communicate. We have unified language about things in the transaction. We have unified language in everything. Okay. One of the unified languages I have with agents, guess what? Don't ever call, text, or email. We agree both ways. I will not call, text, or email you as an agent. You will not call, text, or email me as a TC with anything that closely resembles, and they could finish that line. Call me. Yeah, we don't send text, calls, emails that even closely resemble call me. Why? Because we've determined standards. Standards are we're busy. And the standard is that we will not do anything unless it can be proven to be efficient and effective. If anything in any way, shape, or form is not found to be efficient or effective, we will address it. No ifs and buts, non-negotiable. Okay. Now you can see I'm pretty strong and adamant about these things. Okay. But the agent wants me to be effective. They want me to be efficient. Okay. So I don't allow them to be otherwise. I want to be efficient. I want to be effective, but I want them to be effective and efficient too. Once again, I'm not going to allow a relationship where they hold me to a certain standard, but they can do whatever the frick they want. It doesn't work that way. Okay. You have a standard and we're going to both live up to that standard. And any one of us falls down on that standard, even if it's me, I want you to call me out on it. As an agent, you call me out. If I'm doing anything that's not efficient and effective, you call me out. So leaving a message that says, call me when we're both busy. If I just call you, I'm going to be playing phone tag with you. I don't have time of day for that. We're not in 7th grade. Assume when you call that someone's not going to answer. So always be prepared to leave voicemail. If you leave a voicemail, what are you going to do? There's only 2 voicemails you can leave that are acceptable. And an agent could finish this sentence for me. Number 1, leave enough actionable information so the other person can actually do some work, do something. Or second, leave enough information on your voicemail, leave enough information to end the call. Okay. Give the information and say, by the way, that's all I needed to share with you. There's no reason to give me a call back. Have an awesome day. You're the best in the business. See you. Bye. Okay. Unified language. Okay. So you have standards, figure out how you're going to communicate them and make sure how you communicate them is something that could be repeated over and over and over again. And if you start it, how do they finish it? Vice versa. If they start it, how do you finish it? Sometimes you're going to give them a standard and not live up to it. So all of a sudden they're going to throw it right back in your face and you go, I know. And then you can finish the sentence for them. So here are some things, my personal examples of how I had communicated this for many years. Okay. Who owns what? So that's the 98, 100 plus 1. So that's all broken out here for you. So you can look at that over and over and over again. Okay. Now, another thing that I communicate with them. So I use language, and that language is triggers. So my agents have heard that before. So they send me a file and I do nothing with it. Okay. Sometimes I have to remind you. It's like, hey, did you get that file done? Nope. I'm still waiting on, shoot, 2 triggers. All I sent you was the documents, didn't I? Yep. They can finish these sentences. Why? Because my agents, there's at least 2 triggers. Sometimes I have a 3rd trigger, okay? But minimum 2 triggers. Number 1, send me everything that you've got. Any document, anything that you've got. Send me everything that you got. Contact information, anything that you got. Second, answer 3 questions. They already know what those 3 questions are. They can finish that sentence for me. If they can't, I will repeat it. Next time, they'll probably be able to finish it again because it's the same every single time. What is that unified language? Unified language is that you are going to send me everything that you've got and you're going to answer 3 questions. What are those 3 questions? Come on, you know the 3 questions. Okay. Agents know. I want to know what's missing. Don't tell me what you're sending me. Tell me what you're missing. Number 2, tell me when I can expect to receive what I'm missing. Number 3, who do you want to own tracking down said missing items? And then I will take that information and it becomes part of my intro email to everybody I send everything out to. You guys have heard a lot of this stuff, but do you notice how purposeful all of it is now? Okay. Common standards. So I go through some of the common standards. Okay. Hours. Why do I bring up hours when I talk about unified language? Because of this. I would question a lot of the language I hear from TCs out there. Now, let's just say a typical TC would love to just work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I'm just using one TC as an example here because there are other TCs out there that go, you know what? I actually kind of want my Monday through Fridays kind of wide open because I'm trying to do a work from home type thing. And that's the time that I get with my kids. So I love doing more work on nights and weekends. Okay, great. That's not the example I'm using right now. Okay. But that's okay too, if that works for your relationship with your agents. Okay. Have some clear standards around those things and understandings. Okay. Communicate about it. But now I'm going to tell you about communicating whatever it is that you want. I'm going to say, I'll work up till 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. Here's what I hear, how I hear most TCs talk about that. You know what? I don't work nights and weekends. Stop talking about what you don't do. Only address what you do. Okay? That's a language choice. You can say, I don't work nights and weekends, or you can choose to say, I'm available a ton of hours to you. I'm available up till 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. I don't talk about what I don't do. I talk about what I do. Don't talk about what I don't do. Talk about what I do. I am available up till 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. Anything after that, feel free to own sense of urgency. But if it's part of my 98, you know for a fact, I'm probably going to do it better than you anyways. So why don't you just wait till tomorrow? Leave me a voicemail message at night. Some people say, well, I don't want to bother you at night. I know you got boundaries and all this other kind of crap. Okay. Here's the thing is this is what I tell the agents. I hope you hear this next statement because it's opposite of what most TCs talk about. Most TCs say you've got to have boundaries and you've got to set your boundaries. Baloney. Here's why. I need to have boundaries, but I don't need to set it with them. What I need to give them is proper levels of expectation. And what I get back is the boundaries I desire. I don't need to set boundaries with them. I need to know what I want my boundaries to be, and I don't have to talk to them about it. So here's what I tell them. Okay. I don't talk about what I don't do and what I want and stuff like that. I tell them what I'm going to do. I'm going to be available up till 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. Now, by the way, if something comes up on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock and you want to, and I always use these three, you want to protect, honor, and respect my boundaries so you don't call me, you're screwing both of us. Why? You don't want to bother me. You want to protect, honor, respect my boundaries. So what you do is say, I'll just give them a call tomorrow. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to forget. You're going to get busy. I can't have that. That's going to mess both of us up. So here's what I need you to do. Don't worry about honoring, protecting, and respecting my boundaries. That's not your job as an agent. That's my job, and I'm freaking brilliant at it. So here's the deal is, if you need something at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, I need you to pick up the phone, call, text, or email, and trust me, you're not bothering me because here's the deal. I ain't taking your call. You're not bothering me. I'm not even taking your call. Okay? It's not your job to protect, honor, or respect my boundaries. It's my job, and I'm brilliant at it. So I need you to call, text, or email and tell me what you need me to handle tomorrow. Trust me, you're not bothering me. I am not taking your call. Okay? I've said that to so many agents. It's not even funny. They're like, I get it. And then usually they will leave me a message, and it usually starts with this. Hi, David. I hope I'm not bothering you. I know you told me to call anyways, but sorry about that. So here's what I need tomorrow. They are so gracious. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, here's what some people will do. Even if they did everything I just said, they'll still call them back and go, I kind of like to go above and beyond and everything else. No, you're not going above and beyond. That's not what that is. What you're doing is you're confusing the language that you've chosen, the standards that you set and the language that you've chosen. You're not going above and beyond. What you're doing is now next week, they do the same thing on Wednesday. And now you've created tension in the relationship because that Wednesday, you're not calling back. All of a sudden you start to feel some tension. Here's why. Sometimes you go above and beyond and you call them, and sometimes you don't. And they're starting to get confused. I don't get it. Why did you help me last week and you haven't helped me the last 2 weeks? I don't get it. When are you available? When are you not available? Again, be freakishly consistent. Freakishly consistent. I'm not saying you can't make exceptions, but I'm telling you, be super careful with exceptions. Okay? Exceptions become the rule. So I'm going to let you read through this. Now, what's your homework? Specifically determine what your standards will be in all of the following areas and how you will communicate them. Put all of this in writing. That's the most important part here. Put all of this in writing in a way that properly communicates it to all parties that it will affect. You need to start determining what are the standards, such as I have standards when they turn in the files that I have 2 triggers before I'll even touch your file. I have standards of, I'm available up till 5 o'clock. I have standards that we don't leave each other messages that sound like call me, all those types of things. I have standards, and I've figured out how would I communicate that so it's truly compassionate and effective and freakishly consistent, where if I started the sentence, they could finish it. That's without having that level of communication and relationship management system. I'm telling you right now, this job will be harder. Okay. And it will hurt people's feelings more too. I can go into that. I won't, but it will. It will. Okay. So what's the last things on here? Because this is kind of where the course is basically done. Let's call that. The workshop's done. If you're done, go ahead and hang up. Okay. But anything else here is just going to be more bonus. Okay. So what are the tools we need or use as a TC? I've told you if you go to the TC 101 toolkit or the virtual whiteboard, there's a resource tab. And the link to most of the different softwares that most people use is all going to be there. So you can kind of research them all. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. You want some type of transaction management specific tool or software. Why do I say tool or software? Okay. The fact is that you may build your own transaction management tool, and maybe it is a virtual whiteboard. Maybe you stole mine and just edited it. Perfect. Great. That'll work. I've done thousands of transactions with nothing more than that spreadsheet. Okay. Now it didn't look exactly like the one I'm giving you because my levels of service were a little different. So mine had a lot more going on it, but I'm starting you with one that's pretty complete and that you can just edit. And then if you add more services or more things that you want to track, you can just make that spreadsheet a little bit bigger. Okay. So that's there. The other thing is software. Their existing software. I've mentioned a lot of them, and people always ask me, which ones would you recommend? Right now, it is, we are August 31st, 2023. So take that date into consideration when you listen to this, because if it's a year, 3 years, 5 years later, when you watch this, I'm telling you right now, my answer will probably be different. This changes every 2 to 3 years based on what tools are really doing well in our market. They change constantly or get bought out, merge, disappear, whatever it is. Right now, if I want something that's easy to use, most user-friendly, easy to use, I'm probably going to do a virtual whiteboard, or I'm going to go with A-frame. I like both of those. I think they're both great. One I could build myself. There's no expense really to it. And then A-frame not only is an amazing tool and one of the more user-friendly ones out there, they have a Facebook group that is full of just crazy smart and crazy good humans, users. I'm telling you right now, community is beautiful. Okay. Now, if I want something, both of those are great. Both of them very, very capable. Now, let's just say I'm the geekiest of the geeky out there. I'm a TC and I love to get geeky. I want to dive in and I want something that is the most customizable piece of software tool that I can get my hands on, because I want to customize it and I want automations coming out of my ears. I want to automate everything. Then to me, you got to go with one of two things. I would go with open to close, or otherwise known as OTC. Open to close right now in 2023, I don't know a single transaction management tool that's going to allow you to build out more automations and just be a freak of nature tool. But I'm telling you this, you don't get that with simplicity. Okay. So if you get confused by software and you're not willing to dive in, and I'm seriously get geeky, then that's going to be a tough one for you. You're going to be upset. You're going to be frustrated. The second one is going to be Airtable. What you can do in Airtable is just next level. So there is a group, and I've got it right here. It's called TC Airheads. Okay. So if I go to, in fact, I think I even have them linked on the resources. Let's see here. Let me just find it here for you real quick. If I go down here, do I have them on here yet? Well, there's Airtable. Let me see if I've got their group here. Oh, Airtable for TCs. Yay, it's right there. Okay, so let's do that. If you're going to do Airtable, I'm going to tell you, you need to join this group. I'll move my face here. Airtable for TCs, a community for transaction coordinators using Airtable. And it's run by the Airheads. It's 3 women that I know very well. And I'm telling you, they are amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. They're not only freakishly talented, and all 3 of these women own transaction management businesses that close well over 1,000 transactions. I think some of them are closing more than 2,000 transactions per year, and they're only using Airtable for all of their tools. Now, not only is this group going to help you and educate you and have a support team and everything else like that if you're building out Airtable that can answer a lot of technical questions and everything, but the Airheads have also built out a full transaction management base within Airtable that you can actually buy from them. Now, I don't know the price. I shouldn't even quote it, but I think it might even be $1,000 or a couple $1,000s. I don't know the price. Okay. So I'll just tell you that right up front. I do know it ain't $300. Okay. But I do know this. What it does is a freak of nature. And now you're not paying monthly for anything else. You own that base. Okay. And you can change it, edit it, do whatever you want, but now you're not starting from scratch, because starting from scratch with Airtable and doing anything at that level is going to take you years to build that out. But if you love the geeky stuff, open to close, Airtable, those amazing, 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 amazing. Okay. The free virtual whiteboard is always easy. Next thing that you're going to need for tools is email. I'm going to tell you, I will always prefer to default to Gmail. I just believe that Google owns the world. Okay. And I'm willing to say that's fine with me. I will use every Google tool I can when available. Couple things. Number one, they're kind of industry standard. Number two, they're good. There's nothing wrong with Gmail. Number three, the cost of what any Gmail or any Google tool is versus what else is out there, what other options, custom email systems and everything else like that. Man, it's so cost effective just to stick with Google tools. So I'm big on that. Same thing with digital calendar, use Google Calendar. And there are a lot of extra features in Google Calendar that people don't even pay attention to. I like to use Google Calendar at a very high level. I have multiple calendars all within one calendar. I can turn the view of calendars on and off and everything else like that, manage multiple parts of my business. Every hat gets a different calendar. It's amazing. I love Google Calendar. Okay. All things Google. Additional comments around tools. This list will be larger for someone that is planning to build on an actual transaction management business. And today's session was not about building a transaction management business. Okay. It was about being a transaction coordinator from contract to post close. If you're going to do this as a business, which now brings us into what I said I would talk about. What do you got to think about if you're going to be in a business? If you're going to be in a business, you got to think about the thing that you need all the financial software and you need all of the marketing software. So Canva and QuickBooks and all these other types of things. Okay. So there's that. Next thing, build out your process in the chosen tool based on what you have created, A-frame, blah, blah, blah. That's just a suggestion to start. You can start drawing everything out that I talked about in this workshop, but then you've got to determine what tool am I going to use. Now you need to start bringing these things into that tool. And every one of these tools has a Facebook community, so become part of them so you don't feel like it's just you on an island by yourself having to figure this stuff out. The next thing, and I purposely did not talk about it in the workshop. So when I said that there's always two criteria or two triggers for me to start a file, and constantly I said, a lot of times there's a third. Okay. What is that third? A lot of times the third is they have to fill in my online form to submit the file. I'm not telling you that you should do that. I'm telling you some TCs do and some don't. Now, they need to send me a copy of everything that they've got. And then I could go to, you just need to fill in my online form. What would my online form include? It would include the 3 questions. What's missing? When can I expect to receive it? And who do you want to track it down? But it's also going to ask for everybody's contact information. There's going to be a bunch of required fields. So what I did, there's a lot of amazing TC companies out there. So I just put some links to different ones. When you're in these Facebook groups, start looking at who gives the best replies and maybe go friend them and follow them and see what they're like as human beings. Okay. But if you go ahead and you follow them on Facebook, there's usually a link to their Facebook business page. On their Facebook business page is a link to their website. Okay. I didn't even ask anybody if I could put these here. Why? Because they post these things on Facebook, their websites. Okay. They want people to go to them. So here are 4 examples of what it might look like if you want to go ahead and use an online form submission. So List to Close is an amazing company. Okay. Here's their website. Wonderful. You might get some ideas of how to build your website too, but by looking at all these sites. But see where it says submit contract? Okay. This is what they require the agent fill out and then attach their documents to. Plain and simple, pretty simple. So what I did is I gave you an actual list of a couple different companies. I didn't go crazy and give you 100 of them, but notice, same thing. Okay. So you can see how other TCs, how are they getting the information from the agents? Now, I do know, and I won't mention any names, I know another transaction company. They're huge. They're huge. They don't use any of these online forms. They tell the agents, just send me what you got. And that's all that they do. They take that and they do all of their work. Okay. And they don't ask the agent to fill out any online forms. They don't ask them the 3 questions that I asked. So notice this, what I do is right. It works, but that doesn't mean it's the only thing that's right. And it's the only thing that works. There is no ego involved in this. There's more ways than one that you can do it. So I just thought I'd give a couple examples of what some other companies are doing. Have I used online forms? Darn right I have. Okay. Processed thousands of files and every agent has submitted it on an online form. Have I done it without online forms? Sure. Okay. So anyways, that is that. Go into a few of the TC groups, Facebook groups, that's what I just said, and then go in there, find some people and actually follow them, people that you truly respect. What else do you need to take into consideration if you're going into business? I think I said it at the beginning, but remember this, you are not a TC if you go into business. You are a business owner. You are a small business owner that happens to provide transaction management as a service, period. You are not a TC. You are a small business owner. So understanding and embrace that fact that you are not a TC. It's okay to not be a TC. Be a business owner, but provide the best TC management service you possibly can as a business owner. Okay. Do you really want that? You've got to ask that. Okay. There's a lot of people that think that they want to be an independent TC, and then they realize they hate lead gen, they hate marketing. They hate the financials. They hate the legal side. They hate all of these things. Okay. Why did they do it? They like transaction management and they like the idea of working from home and they like the idea of being their own boss and they like the idea of making their own schedule. Okay. But that's about this much of being a business owner. And some of that isn't even going to be true for you. Okay. So you really got to ask, do I really want to be a business owner? That's not a light question. And here's the thing is, you may even want to be a business owner, but it's okay after a couple of years to go, you know what? I did that. That's great. Now I want to close my business. That's not a failure. Not a failure. You're just wanting something different at the time. I would like to go now and be a TC for someone else and go W-2 and not have to worry about everything else. Just do what I love and get paid for it and get, benefits or whatever it is. That is not a failure. You didn't fail your business. You didn't fail yourself. You didn't fail anything. You just changed what you want at that time. Grant yourself some grace. Okay. It's not a bad thing to change. And it may be the other way. You start with someone, you're on salary, you've got maybe some bonuses, salary, whatever it is, benefits. And then eventually you do want to go out on your own. Now you got to be careful with that. Make sure, if there's non-competes and what that looks like for you, but just know you can go either direction. Okay. Draw out all the hats. I'm telling you, if you're going to be a business owner, I would definitely get on a notebook and start drawing out what hats will I have to own. I got to own the transaction management part. I got to own all the systems part. I got to own the, all the things that I've said before. You got to own all those things. Then I would start to break out my systems. I'm talking about systems here for transaction management. And we did this in a couple hours. I would have to do a couple hours worth on each one of those hats. And I'm telling you to do it. If you're really going to be a business owner, you better be serious about it and draw out what the systems that are needed for each and every one of the hats you're going to wear. If you don't want to do that, you want nothing to do with that, I would question whether you really want to be a business owner. There's nothing wrong with not being a business owner. Okay? There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Okay. Opinion. If you truly do this alone or solo, there's a greater chance that the business could own you versus the other way around. Know how to ensure that this is not the case. I could do a whole course just on that one topic. So I'm just going to leave it there and just know this. Don't ever build a business that you always feel like it owns you. It runs your day. It runs your night. It runs your life. Okay. Last two things. Number one, build your A team. Your A team is not hiring people, okay, and bringing on another TC and this and that. Your A team is this. It includes 4 people. You need to know who's going to handle your legal. Have an attorney. If you do not have an attorney, you are, I hate to say it, you are your attorney, okay? And that's probably not a good choice, okay? But if you're going to have agreements, you're going to have contracts, everything else like that, I'm telling you right now, get the opinion of an attorney. It's worth the money. Number 2, you should have a bookkeeper. You should know what your P&L is every month at a bare minimum every quarter, okay? Not guessing what your P&L is, okay? I pay a bookkeeper to reconcile my books once a week and once, I think it's a month, and then also once a quarter. They give me a full breakdown of my P&L. I don't do it. I pay someone. I don't know what it is, maybe 150 bucks, something like that, 185 bucks, 150 bucks, maybe 100 bucks, something like that. It's not crazy. It's not like I'm employing someone 40 hours a week and it's costing me $30,000 per year. You know, it's 100, 200 bucks per month. Who do I use? Wise Wizards. They're in the resource list. I'm telling you right now, I love me some Wise Wizards. Okay. They're amazing. I couldn't do this business without them. Or if I did it, I could do it. I just wouldn't enjoy it as much. I hate the whole bookkeeping thing. And I would not reconcile my books every single week, but they should be reconciled every single week. And so I realized I don't enjoy it. I probably wouldn't end up doing it. And that is not acceptable to run a business, in my opinion. Next, you need to have an accountant and you need to have a tax preparer. Now, every once in a while, there's a tax preparer who is the accountant, who is the bookkeeper. You might be able to get a couple of these in one person. For me, my attorney is separate. My bookkeeper is separate. My accountant and tax preparer are the same group. Okay. So you may, your A team may be 4 separate, maybe 3 separate, maybe 2 separate. It's rarely just going to be one. I don't know an attorney that does all that stuff. Okay. And then lead generation. This is not a lead generation course, but if you're going to be in business, you need to ask yourself, can I get passionate about building my own business? And when I say that, I mean about building a clientele. Okay. You could be the greatest transaction coordinator that ever existed, and you hate lead generation, you suck at lead generation, whatever it is. You might even be great at lead generation, but you hate it. Okay. You've got to understand that if you're going to be a business owner, you have to have business. You have to have clients. Okay. Otherwise, there is no revenue. And if that's not something that you are passionate about and you can get excited about, don't just do it. I hate it, but I have to do it anyways. Okay. I feel sorry for people that feel that way. That's fine if that's the way you want to do it. I'm just telling you right now, be prepared that that is part of it. So look at that. That's it. Document your systems, process, and standards for onboarding new agents. That was the only other thing. And I am going to pause on this particular topic and not even go through onboarding. That's kind of a whole nother topic that would take a whole nother video. But I will say this. What should you do next for your homework? I'm going to tell you right now, sign up for the TC support membership. It is $12 a month. You go into the categories and courses, and all the courses I mentioned, they're all free in there. So I mentioned, I think TC 101 and TC 201 a couple times. You click on those, it'll tell you it's a 9-hour course, and it's got all the videos and all the tools and everything else like that. If you go to the website, it'll say membership information. From there, you can sign up for 12 bucks a month or do $96 per year. It ends up being $8 a month. It's the cheapest thing that you're going to see out there, period. I did that on purpose. Okay. Next thing, go through the following courses. Now you can go to my site and just buy them. That's fine. I just think it costs you too much money to do that. They're fairly cheap, but it still adds up to be a lot more than 12 bucks a month. Okay. So I would go through TC 101, TC 201. Each one of those are close to about 9 hours long. I would go through the email management. That is crucial. You can tell I am not light on my thoughts around emails. And the last one, I would go through, I think it's a 1-hour course, 4 keys to building any systems. That's a crucial core concept and belief type of course on how I look at building systems. I hope that this was helpful to you. Okay. This is an introduction to becoming a transaction coordinator. It's a lot, but don't try to work on it to the level that until it's perfect. It's never going to be perfect. I said that before. If you're in this for 5 to 10 years, you will still be tweaking everything that you do. You'll still be tweaking your task list, still be tweaking your systems. It will never be perfect. Get your task list, get your what you want for a transaction summary, get your virtual whiteboard or whatever tool that you're going to have, and start processing files. That's where you're going to learn. Do 12 files and you will have a general idea of what it takes to get from contract to post-close. Once you're done with 10 or 12 files, now the focus is less on what it takes to get from contract to close. And now the next and most important phase of your transaction coordination career is, now, how do I manage with what I just learned? How do I manage 30, 40, 50, or 100 of those simultaneously? That's what being a transaction coordinator really is about. Okay. Hope this helps everyone. Feel free, grab all those resources that we've got there, join the Facebook community, reach out to me if there's anything I can do for you. Most people at this level don't need coaching from me, but as your business grows, if you're looking for real coaching, that is something that we make available as well. Have an awesome day. I will stop sharing here. You guys take care. Bye-bye.